Good morning. This is Gloria J with Action Speaks, and I'm here to further read to you some of the research, the data, the studies, and history on gifted education or giftedness. Now let me clarify that my book, Every Child Born Gifted, which these sessions will hopefully authenticate the production of Every Child Born Gifted, is based on my life and the life of my children as children, not as adults. They have their own stories to tell. So I will continue with further research, reading some of the research, so that you will have as much knowledge as I have and use it wisely when you receive your copy of Every Child Born Gifted by Gloria J. Thank you. Today I'm going to read Racial Identity and Context for the Gifted African American Student. Parenthesis, when who I am impacts how I am represented, addressing minority student issues in different contexts. The author is Julie A. Moore. The geographical code is 1 USA. The date of the publication was January 1st, 2002. Words 5,129. Publication Roper Review. The ISS number 0278-3193. Although much of the current literature on gifted students of color is focused on increasing identification of these students, there is a growing attention to social and psychological issues related to their development and achievement. Ford, Harris, and Sconger, 1993. Grantham and Ford, 1998. McIntosh and Greenlaw, 1986. Patton and Townsend, 1997. Ethnic identity development and gifted African American students is one such psychological factor that researchers have recently begun to explore. Ford, Harris, and Sconger, 1993. Grantham and Ford, 1998. Patton and Townsend, 1997. The general literature on development in African American student suggests that ethnic identity plays a protective role in their lives. Miller, 1999. Students who identify strongly with their ethnic group are better able to negotiate potentially negative environments, to deal with discrimination and prejudice, and to have high self-esteem. While there is empirical support for this contention, see Miller for review, relationships between racial identity and more general outcome tend to be modest to moderate, suggesting that the complexity in the function of racial identity has not been adequately captured. I'm living proof. The present paper will explore the complexity of racial identity in the lives of gifted African American students. it will be argued that the adaptiveness of identity can only be understood through an ecological and multidimensional view of racial identity that takes into account the individual, the social context, and personal coping styles. Racial identity and achievement for African Americans. There are two primary views of the relationship between racial identity and academic achievement of African American students. The first view, the dichotomized view, suggests that high-achieving African American students are hopelessly torn between social acceptance by lesser achieving African American peers and strong academic performance. According to this perspective, African American students view high achievement as acting, quote, acting white. Fordham and Ogba, 1986. The second view, the bicultural view, Banks, 1979, and Clark, 1991, Valentine, 1971, asserts that African American students' identities are diverse and complex. Thus, bicultural gifted African American students may feel as comfortable within the gifted classroom as they do with African American peers who may not be identified as gifted. In addition to reviewing the literature related to these two perspectives, the present paper will also incorporate theoretical aspects of more general models of racial identity that provide a broader view of the role of racial identity in the lives of the gifted African American students. The dichotomized view of race and achievement. The literature on racial identity and achievement in gifted or high-achieving African American students has been largely built on the notion that such students are forced to choose between a pro-African American, anti-achievement identity and a pro-white, pro-achievement identity. According to this perspective, gifted African American students are often pulled by two social forces, one in the direction of social acceptance of African American peers and another toward mainstream cultural values and norms. Blackwell, 1975, Chimizi, 1985, Lindstrom and Sanvant, 1986, Townsend and Patton, 1995. Gifted African American students may have difficulty integrating social ties to non-gifted African American peers and academic ties to other high-achieving classmates. However, identifying solely with either of these groups while neglecting the other may be detrimental to students' psychological, e.g. self-esteem and sense of belonging, and academic lives. Therefore, identifying successful configurations of these two seemingly opposing identities is important to the study of gifted African American students. A great deal of theoretical and empirical work has demonstrated links between racial identity and positive psychological adaptation, Blash and Unger, 1995, Jaggers and Malk, 1993, Miller, 1999, Smith, Walker, Fields, Brooken and C, 1999, Rowley, Sellers, Chauvis and Smith, 1998, Teller, Castor, Flickinger, Roberts and Fulmore, 1994. In general, researchers have found that African American students with a positive racial identity are better adjusted. Unfortunately, these findings do not necessarily hold in the case of high achieving and gifted African American students. While a strong pro-African American identity may be beneficial for students in a broader social context, it may undervalue education and intellectual development. Ogba, 1988-1994. Identification with lesser achieving African American peers may lead to underachievement and marginalization from high achieving non-African American students and teachers. Steinberg, Dumbush, and Brown, 1992. While African American students with pro-African American orientation may be sacrificing academic achievement, African American students with strong pro-white attitudes may be isolating them from African American peers and culture. This perspective suggests that African American students with a pro-white identity reject their own culture in order to achieve academic, financial, and social success in mainstream America. Boykin, 1986. Fordham, 1988. Tatum, 1992. Gifted students may benefit from the orientation to the degree that they maximize their intellectual promise. Some critics, however, describe a poor white identity as maladaptive for African American students. Baldwin, Brown, and Rackley, 1990. Cross, 1991. These researchers highlight the confusion that may ensure when African Americans depend on the dominant culture for self-definition, e.g., Smith, 1989, Thomas, 1971. Even more extreme, these students may find themselves marginalized, rejected by African American peers, and not fully accepted by white peers. Tatum, 1992. These raceless students may experience increased psychological isolation and feelings of depression. Fordham and Ogba, 1986. In the end, this sort of dichotomized view of the role of racial identity in the lives of gifted African American students as it relates to academic achievement is quite narrow. Note the conflaction of terms. This perspective assumes that students who identify with academic achievement also identify with white cultural values. Concomitantly, those who identify strongly with being African American devalued education and are prone to underachievement. Indeed, this perspective leaves one feeling that healthy adjustments for gifted African Americans, would be nearly impossible given this set of social constraints. The following sections of this paper demonstrate that there are multiple pathways to healthy development, and the current models of racial identity can lead researchers to more balanced and complete views of the lives of gifted African American students. We will continue with the bicultural view of race and achievement on tomorrow. Thank you for listening to Action Speaks, research, studies, and history that will authenticate the production of my new book, Every Child Born Gifted. Gloria J. Keith, thank you, and God bless you.